Hidden for over 2 millennia, this ancient scroll is one of the most astonishing discoveries in history. Unearthed in the Qumran caves, it was written centuries before Jesus walked the earth, yet its words appear to describe him with stunning accuracy. Could this be undeniable proof of his divinity? One passage in particular is so precise, so breathtaking, that it might just change everything we thought we knew: the astonishing discovery of the Great Isaiah Scroll. In the late 1940s, one of the most extraordinary archaeological discoveries in history was made in the arid desert region near the Dead Sea. Hidden within the caves of Qumran, a shepherd stumbled upon ancient scrolls that would forever change biblical scholarship. These priceless documents, now known as the Dead Sea Scrolls, consisted of over 1,100 ancient texts and more than 100,000 fragments, shedding new light on the history of the Old Testament. Among these scrolls, something truly remarkable was found: a nearly complete copy of the Book of Isaiah. Unlike the other biblical manuscripts, which were often fragmented or incomplete, the Great Isaiah Scroll was fully preserved, containing all 66 chapters. Spanning over 25,000 words, this scroll stands as one of the longest books in the Bible, making its survival across centuries nothing short of miraculous. Even more astonishing is the fact that the Great Isaiah Scroll alone accounts for more than 25% of all biblical texts discovered among the Dead Sea Scrolls. The text itself, written in ancient Hebrew, remains so clear that modern Hebrew readers can still interpret it with ease. Remarkably, its wording and spelling closely align with medieval manuscripts, demonstrating an astonishing level of textual consistency over time. Alongside Hebrew, other languages found among the Dead Sea Scrolls include Aramaic, Greek, and an ancient script known as Paleo-Hebrew. These variations suggest that the community responsible for preserving these texts had deep linguistic and cultural knowledge, possibly linked to the mysterious Essenes, an isolated Jewish sect known for their strict religious practices. But how did these ancient scrolls remain hidden for so long? And who was the first to recognize their significance? The discovery itself is an incredible story, one filled with chance, mystery, and an unfolding revelation that continues to captivate scholars and historians alike. It all began when a Bedouin shepherd, while searching for a lost goat, stumbled upon a cave that had remained untouched for nearly 2,000 years. Inside, he found clay jars filled with scrolls, some wrapped in linen, others already crumbling with age. Unaware of their immense value, the shepherd and his companions initially sold a few scrolls to local dealers. However, once word spread of their existence, scholars quickly realized these were far more than just ancient writings. But what secrets were hidden within these fragile scrolls, sealed away for centuries? And could one manuscript in particular contain evidence so compelling that it challenges everything we thought we knew? Stay with us, because what comes next is unbelievable: the lost scrolls that changed everything. In 1947, in the rugged desert landscape near the Dead Sea, an accidental discovery would send shockwaves through both the archaeological world and religious communities. Just northwest of the Dead Sea, near the ruins of an ancient settlement called Qumran, a group of young Bedouin shepherds was tending their flocks. One of them, searching for a lost goat, picked up a rock and threw it into a nearby cave, hoping to startle the animal out of hiding. Instead of hearing the expected sound of stones striking rock, he was met with an unexpected noise: the unmistakable crash of pottery shattering. Curious, the shepherd ventured inside the cave, only to find several clay jars, some of which contained tightly wrapped scrolls. Unbeknownst to him, he had just stumbled upon what would become one of the most important archaeological discoveries of all time: the Dead Sea Scrolls. These ancient writings, which had remained hidden for more than 2,000 years, contained fragments of nearly every book of the Old Testament, except for the Book of Esther. As news of the discovery spread, archaeologists and scholars from around the world rushed to the site, hoping to recover more of these invaluable texts. Over the next few years, thousands of additional fragments were unearthed, eventually forming between 800 and 900 manuscripts. But what made these scrolls so significant? Why did a random collection of ancient writings from a cave in the desert spark such intense interest, especially among Christians? The answer lies in what these texts revealed. For centuries, skeptics had questioned the authenticity of the Bible, arguing that its texts had been altered over time. Before the discovery of the Dead Sea Scrolls, the oldest known Hebrew manuscript of the Old Testament dated back to around 900 AD, nearly 1,000 years after the life of Jesus. This gave critics reason to claim that biblical prophecies, particularly those about the Messiah, could have been written or modified after the events had already occurred. But the Dead Sea Scrolls shattered that argument. The discovery of the Great Isaiah Scroll was particularly groundbreaking. This nearly complete manuscript of the book of Isaiah, written around 200–100 BC, predated Jesus by at least a century. It contained 19 direct prophecies about the coming of the Messiah, prophecies that matched the life and ministry of Jesus Christ in astonishing detail. The implications were staggering. If this scroll had been written long before Jesus' time and had remained unchanged, then the prophetic accuracy of the Old Testament would be undeniable. To verify the authenticity of the scrolls, multiple scientific tests were conducted, including carbon dating and linguistic analysis. Scholars examined not only the age of the parchment, but also the consistency of the text itself. If the content of these ancient scrolls significantly differed from later manuscripts, it would suggest that the Bible had been altered over time. However, if they matched, it would confirm that the scriptures had been meticulously preserved for centuries, reinforcing the reliability of modern biblical translations. The book of Isaiah, often called a miniature Bible, holds a unique place in Scripture. The first 39 chapters, mirroring the 39 books of the Old Testament, are filled with warnings of judgment, exposing the sin and rebellion of Israel, its neighboring nations, and even the world at large. But then, in a dramatic shift, the last 27 chapters, mirroring the 27 books of the New Testament, offer a message of redemption, hope, and the coming of a Messiah. This Messiah, Isaiah prophesied, would bear the weight of human sin, suffer on behalf of mankind, and ultimately reign as king. But here's the real question. Could these ancient writings truly be the long-lost proof that Jesus was the prophesied Messiah? And if so, what other secrets might these scrolls still be hiding? Keep watching, because what comes next will change everything you thought you knew. Ancient prophecies fulfilled. The Isaiah Scroll and the life of Jesus. The discovery of the Great Isaiah Scroll at Qumran in 1947 not only stunned the academic world, but also reinforced the deep connection between ancient Jewish prophecies and the foundation of Christianity. Dated to the Hellenistic period, a time of significant theological development, the scroll provided a direct, unaltered glimpse into the prophetic traditions that shaped biblical history. Its existence confirmed that key messianic prophecies were written centuries before the birth of Jesus, making it an invaluable link between the past and modern faith. Among the most striking elements of the Isaiah Scroll is Isaiah 53, often called the Suffering Servant Prophecy. This passage, remarkably detailed, describes the life, suffering, and ultimate sacrifice of a figure who bears the sins of others. A description that Christians believe aligns perfectly with the life and crucifixion of Jesus Christ. Take, for example, Isaiah 53 verse 3, which foretells the rejection of the Messiah. He was despised and rejected by mankind, a man of suffering and familiar with pain. Centuries later, John 1 verse 10–11 echoes this reality. He was in the world, and though the world was made through him, the world did not recognize him. He came to that which was his own, but his own did not receive him. The life of Jesus, marked by rejection from his own people, perfectly aligns with this ancient prophecy. Another powerful parallel is found in Isaiah 53, verse 5. But he was pierced for our transgressions, he was crushed for our iniquities. The punishment that brought us peace was on him, and by his wounds we are healed. This aligns with 1 Peter 2, verse 24. He himself bore our sins in his body on the tree, that we might die to sin and live to righteousness. By his wounds you have been healed. The piercing of Jesus at his crucifixion, his hands and feet nailed to the cross, matches Isaiah's prophecy with extraordinary accuracy. The prophetic connection continues with Isaiah 53 verse 7. He was oppressed and afflicted, yet he did not open his mouth. He was led like a lamb to the slaughter. This finds fulfillment in Matthew 27 verse 12, 14, where Jesus remained silent before Pilate despite the accusations against him. His refusal to defend himself mirrored the prophecy of a submissive, sacrificial lamb. Even the burial of Jesus was foretold in Isaiah 53 verse 9. He was assigned a grave with the wicked and with the rich in his death, though he had done no violence, nor was any deceit in his mouth. This is fulfilled in Matthew 27, verse 57, 60, where Joseph of Arimathea, a wealthy man, took Jesus' body and placed it in his own tomb, a direct fulfillment of Isaiah's words. Beyond the biblical accounts, external historical sources add further weight to these prophetic fulfillments. The Roman historian Tacitus, writing in AD 116, confirms that a man named Christus was executed under Pontius Pilate during the reign of Emperor Tiberius, a crucial verification of the New Testament timeline. Similarly, the Jewish historian Flavius Josephus, in his work Antiquities of the Jews, references Jesus as a wise teacher and miracle worker known as the Christ, acknowledging his historical existence from a non-Christian perspective. These independent records, combined with the remarkable alignment between Isaiah's ancient prophecies and the life of Jesus, raise an intriguing question. If these words were written centuries before Jesus' birth, how could they so precisely describe his life, suffering, and death? Could this be a mere coincidence, or does it point to something far greater? The mystery of the Dead Sea Scrolls, controversies and theories. The discovery of the Dead Sea Scrolls in 1947 was a groundbreaking moment in history, but it also gave rise to numerous theories, some scholarly, others wildly speculative. One particularly controversial claim came from a scholar involved in publishing the scrolls. He argued that the teacher of righteousness mentioned in the text had been crucified and that the gospel story of Jesus was merely a fictional adaptation of this figure. However, this theory quickly collapsed under scrutiny, as there was no evidence within the scrolls to support the claim that this teacher had been crucified. Many viewed these assertions as an attempt to discredit Christianity, but such efforts failed to hold up against the historical and textual evidence. The controversy surrounding the scrolls didn't end there. In the 1950s and 1960s, a small group of scholars controlled access to the scrolls, and very few were made public. This secrecy sparked speculation of a cover-up, with rumors swirling that the Roman Catholic Church was deliberately withholding certain texts. However, when photographs of the scrolls were eventually released, no shocking secrets emerged. There were no hidden references to Jesus, no lost gospels, and no suppressed revelations. Just ancient Jewish writings consistent with known historical texts. Despite this, new claims continued to surface. One scholar suggested that a fragment from the War Scroll described a Messiah being pierced. This ignited fresh debates, with some speculating that Christianity borrowed its teachings from the Essenes, the Jewish sect believed to have written the scrolls. Others even theorized that Jesus or John the Baptist had been influenced by the Essenes. However, deeper analysis debunked these ideas, showing fundamental differences between Essenic beliefs and the teachings of Jesus and John. Perhaps the most astonishing claim came in 1972, when Jose O'Callaghan, a respected scholar, argued that he had identified a fragment of the Gospel of Mark among the Greek-language scrolls found in Cave 7. While the majority of scholars remain unconvinced, a small number still consider the possibility intriguing. Could it be that a piece of the New Testament was hidden among the Dead Sea Scrolls? But what do you think about the whole context? Were the Dead Sea Scrolls just ancient writings? Or is there more to the story? We'd like to hear your thoughts. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.